Hey everyone, it's Strange Michael. I hope you're doing well today. I have a review here for a film that I loved. Absolutely loved. It's absolutely a massive recommendation for me. Yeah, I saw it a couple of weeks ago, a few weeks ago, something like that. It's a film called Terrifier 2. A 2022 film release that's not rated, which is fantastic. I love that about it. This film made such a spell of discussion for slashers back in October of 2022 when Halloween Ends came out and fucking pissed all of us off. Anyway, Terrifier 2 is a sequel, obviously, to kind of a series. There's All Hallows Eve that involves one character from this film called Art the Clown that many of you know. Art the Clown is an absolute brilliant character. Terrifier 3 was just announced, I believe, yesterday on the, what was yesterday's date? That was the 21st of February, so that's pretty cool too. Anyway, it's mainly a sequel to the first Terrifier film, which you can watch this constantly everywhere. Everybody has it all the time on every streaming service, whether it be Shudder, Tubi, where you can watch things for free. Terrifier is really great. I really mean that. But personally, after watching Terrifier 2 and seeing some of the little change-ups they went for, I think I love Terrifier 2 more. I'm going to be honest with you. Because there's so much heart and love for this movie. This is a passion project, the first one. Part 2 is even more of that. Terrifier 2 has so much shit going for it that I don't even know how to explain it to you. It just genuinely kind of blew me away. I had heard so many good things. You had so many people talking about how they threw up, running out of the theaters. So many things people were saying and the news articles were saying, which really don't hold any weight with me. I hate MSN. But I think that it just had so much controversy about it because of all the gore, and the first film had that too. The first film was introduced to me because of all the horrific gore people talked about. It's directed, by the way, by Damien Leone once again, who created the series and created the character of Art the Clown. It took a long time to get this film going. It came out like 6 years after the original film from like 2016, 2018, somewhere in there. It's been a long time since the first one came out. And to me, it was worth the wait. I was a little worried, like a lot of people, when this was first announced, because it was going to be 2 hours and 18 minutes. It's almost 2.5 hours for a slasher film. What slasher film actually justifies that length if it's there? This film absolutely does. I think everything in it mattered. I understand why people might have an issue with like little things here and there, nitpicks and whatever. And frankly, I kind of did too when I saw it, for the first time. I'm going to be honest with you, it's really grown on me. The more I've thought about it, the more I've really just processed it in my head after I saw it. It really clicked with me. It really just is a great flick all around. Anyway, let's kind of get into the Damien Leone stuff. Of course, he wrote the film, he directed the film. I believe he did some editing or was the editor, something like that. I don't think he did the music, which is phenomenal, by the way. The musical score they used for this and made for this is just amazing. The Terrifier theme song is beautiful, man. It's a very synthwave 80s throwback film. Pretty much all the music in here is synthwave type stuff, and if you love that kind of thing, this is so much for you. Even though it takes place now in 2023 or 2022 or whenever this takes place. Well, I guess it would have to be right after the first film, so it'd have to be like 2017, 2018. Anyway, it's about a year after the first film's events. I'll get to that in a moment. But Damien Leone also did the special effects for the film, and they look even better than Part 1's. The special effects are horrific. I mean, they are some of the best practical effects I've ever seen in a film. There's not much of any kind of CGI type stuff. Maybe in one scene of the entire film, it's very limited. Most of this is practical, in-camera stuff, and it looks amazing. Damien Leone is a master of his craft. He is the kind of horror filmmaker, at least the slasher filmmaker, we need nowadays, in my opinion. And in my opinion also, people love like Robert Eggers, guys like that. I think Damien Leone's my current favorite. David Gordon Green was for a while. Damien Leone is now, because of what fucking happened with Halloween Ends. I'm so excited for Terrifier 3. I hope we keep getting more and more, but I want it to be limited and just be what Damien wanted to make. Kind of like Don Coscarelli making Phantasm films. Do it when you want to, when you have an idea. Do it the way you want to do it. Most of the time it's going to turn out pretty good, I think, personally, for me and my opinion about Phantasm. That's a whole other story, though. Terrifier 2 essentially is about a family of 3. The dad recently passed away. There's essentially our main character played by Lauren Lavera, who is phenomenal. I love her. She's so good in this movie. She's fantastic. She plays a young girl, a teenage girl, about 16, 17, named Sienna. And she has a younger brother. It's about 12, 13, somewhere in there. And they have a mom. The mom is kind of mean, kind of awful, just a mean person, but she's been through a lot, where she lost her husband, her kids are a little nuts, not so much Sienna, mainly the son. The son keeps getting into trouble, and he may or may not, by Sienna's observation and kind of jokingly saying, he's starting to show signs that he might be a serial killer at some point. Of course, one of the supposed symptoms of that, supposedly, is that you like to kill animals. In like brutal ways, not like a hunting way, but, you know, like a brutal way, like a mean way, right? And he may or may not have done that. But this is a year after the original film. Like I said, Halloween, pretty much, I think the day before Halloween is when this film really kind of picks up. And Sienna, I love that character because of, she's so selfless. She's such a selfless girl, and I love that about her. She was a daddy's girl. She loves her mom. She loves her brother. She's there for both. She's not your typical dumbass, snarky teenager character, and I love that about her. And Lauren Lavera plays her so well in this movie. She is the reason to watch this film, not just David Howard Thornton coming back as Art the Clown, who is also phenomenal. Yes, Art the Clown is alive again. He somehow survived blowing his brains out at the end of the first film. I know that's kind of a spoiler, hopefully you saw it, but if you're watching this review, you probably already saw it or saw this movie, so who gives a shit? Anyway, he blew his brains out at the end of the first film to get away, but he also woke up at the end of the film in the midst of an autopsy that was about to start on him. In this film, he kills that guy, the autopsy dude. What do you call that guy? An autopsy surgeon? I don't know, whatever the fuck you call him. He kills that guy in a brutal way. Kind of starts the film off on a great note, and he goes to a laundromat to wash his costume. Yes, Art the Clown goes to the laundromat to wash his clothing. He's sitting there completely naked reading a newspaper across from a guy who's sleeping, and then Art the Clown notices something weird. This might be something new to him, the way he reacts, that's the way I read it. Maybe he just constantly forgets who this is. I don't know. We don't really know much about Art the Clown because, of course, he doesn't talk. He's just like a killer clown slasher villain who does horrific things to people. He sees a little girl across the room. I think she's in the credits as the Gray Girl or something like that. And she is just like a little girl that has her face painted just like Art the Clown. She has hair. This little girl, even her, everybody in the film I think is really good. The younger brother's a little weak in his acting, but it's not really his fault, I don't think. But this little girl even puts a phenomenal performance in. She doesn't talk or anything. She is just as mean-spirited and funny as shit as Art the Clown. I love this new character. She's really fun. But it also, with that being said, and the film itself being said, overall we have a supernatural thing going on here. In the first film, you could kind of debate and argue about whether anything is supernatural about Art the Clown. A lot of it seems to point to, yes, it seems like nobody can really kill him no matter what you do to him. Why does he not talk? A lot of that kind of thing is brought to the forefront in that first movie. This film really focuses on that, about angels, demons, symbolic stuff about that. Not in a bad way either. Not like claiming Art the Clown as a demonic spirit or anything like that. But the stuff with the little girl, he is the only one who can see her. So immediately at the beginning of this film, we have this introduction of supernatural stuff. And I love that about it. I think at first I was a little iffy about that. Where are we going with this? Is he just crazy? I mean, obviously, but is he like legit nuts? He's just imagining things now. Is this somebody new that he imagines? Where are we going with this? The film doesn't get into that immediately, but as the film goes on, there's a lot of stuff you're going to find out about Art the Clown that I like. Not in a bad way either. I really love a lot of it. But we kind of go in a supernatural direction more for this film, and I think some people are going to like that and some people are not going to like that, depending on your feelings about the first film and whether you think this series should have had that or not. It kind of reminds me of the discussion a lot of us have about Stephen King books, about whether they constantly go into supernatural directions, which they typically don't need to. Even down to the fucking book Cujo has a supernatural element about it, about a monster in a closet. Why is that in there? I mean, I know he was coked up when he wrote that book, but that shouldn't have been in that dog attacking people and trapping them in a car situation. It was so lame. As much as I like Cujo as a book and a movie. I actually have the Cujo movie sitting right over here. Anyway, getting back to Terrifier 2. Eventually, Art the Clown starts just killing people the day of Halloween. You know, again, kind of like a year after the first movie. Starts killing a bunch of people, and eventually he crosses paths with Sienna. And goes after her, her friends, everybody else around her. Sienna actually builds a costume, and this kind of goes into play of what I was talking about earlier. She's worked really hard on a costume that's very Viking-esque. If you saw the trailer for this movie when it came out, she's wearing kind of a Viking costume with big old wings on the side. This is a costume she designed, basically, around an art piece, a picture that her dad drew in his little journal for her when she was a girl, and he would tell her and her brother different stories about these characters he made, and kind of say things like, you're going to grow up into this person one day. So we have this other supernatural element, whether the dad is kind of supernatural or psychic or something like that. He died from cancer, brain cancer, I believe is what they said. I could be wrong about that, but I think that's what they said. But he had so many things in this notebook that come into play in the story, which are pretty cool too. But Sienna, as a selfless person, made this costume as a tribute to her dad. And as sexy as it is, I think she's really, really cool. She's such a tough character. And in real life, Laura Lavera is a kickboxer and shit, so it doesn't surprise me that she would be as tough as she is in this film. She's great. I just love this character. I really hope that she comes back for Terrifier 3, if they go that route. I don't know. They might not, and I understand if they don't, but I would love to see Sienna again. She's fantastic. Great actress, everything. The writing for everybody in the film, no matter the performance, which I think most people are good in the film, the writing is really strong. There's a lot of heart and soul to the film that's really going to mean a lot to you, I think, by the time you walk out of this movie, because of all of the character stuff, especially with that family dynamic of our main characters, even down to some of the side characters. One particular victim of Art the Clown goes through something horrific. I mean, truly graphic, truly like, if you are squeamish, man, I'm telling you, do not watch these movies. Part 1 is making me, like, a little off, even though I'm not a squeamish person. I love gore in horror films. Part 2 really messes with me. There's a lot of shit in this film that I never thought I would see ever done. The kills are super creative. It's not even like a bland creative. It's like super creative, man. Let's see, the look of the film. Again, it is kind of a lower budget slasher, but not really a low budget movie. I think it was made for... I don't even know how much it was made for, but dude, this thing drew in money. Thank God, too, because it's so fantastic. It made so much money, man, and I'm so happy about that, too. Because Damien Leone, frankly, he deserves it. I really think he deserves it because of how much passion he put into these movies. The music, again, amazing. Loved all that, too. If I had to nitpick anything, it's the runtime being 2.5 hours long, almost. But really, it doesn't feel like that. The movie zooms by, dude. I watched this entire thing in one sitting, which, you know, most people do that. It's nothing to gloat about. But for me, in my scheduling, it is. I watched the hell out of it. I loved it. I could not stop watching it. I was obsessed with what I saw in this movie. Just couldn't believe it, because it's been a while since I felt this way about a movie. Like a new movie, you know? It was so incredible, man. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. And Damien, if you ever come across this review, dude, this is... perfect. This is genuinely perfect in my opinion. But the only nitpick I have with that runtime thing is really down to one segment. There is a dream sequence in this movie involving Sienna's character, and that scene goes on for like 10 minutes, dude. And it's just like an Art the Clown dream, and a little bit of it's in the trailer. You probably know what I'm talking about. And it's fun to watch, don't get me wrong, as it goes along, but that scene to me could have been cut down a little bit. I don't think it needed to be as long as it was. But I could see this being the new, like, the iconic movie in the Terrifier series. I mean, Terrifier 1 is iconic as it is. Art the Clown is the new icon of horror. As far as I'm concerned, there was Jigsaw for a long time. People stopped caring. I didn't, but a lot of people did. Now we're to this, in my opinion. I think Annabelle and all that shit never really hit that iconic moment like a lot of people thought it did. I think those will be forgotten. Terrifier, I don't think will. Terrifier 2, I think, is, like... the Nightmare on Elm Street 3 of this series. It's very Nightmare on Elm Street in a lot of ways. Not with dreams and nightmares and stuff, that's playing a little bit into it, but the supernatural stuff I think really comes into play and feels like Dream Warriors, and you know? Anyway, I love Terrifier 2, as you can tell. I think this cover art is absolutely amazing. This is such a great flick, and again, do not watch this unless you watch part 1. There are a lot of things that happen in this, especially towards the end, that you must know about part 1 before you go into it, or you're going to be so lost, dude, you won't even realize it. Anyway, with that being said, though, that's it. My review for Terrifier 2. If I had to rate Terrifier 2 on a 5-star basis, I loved it. I recommend it to everybody who's not squeamish, because if you are, you're going to puke your guts out, because it is horrific, and again, all that effort Damien Leone put into the artwork of the practical effects, this shit is gruesome, man. It's stuff that I've never seen in anything, and I've watched a lot of slashers and a lot of gory films all of my life. Everything looks fantastic. Everything was really well made. If I had to rate it on a 5-star basis, I think I'd give the film probably a 5 out of 5. I loved it. I thought it was so incredibly great. I think it's as good, if not better, than Terrifier 1. Probably better overall. The scope of it feels more iconic, in my opinion. Even though I do think the first film was iconic, I think this is even more so. The supernatural direction is where it's really going to rub people either one way or another, I think, when it comes to talking about this movie. But for me, the more I've processed it, the more I've thought about it, the more I think it's very fitting, and I think it really suits this movie. I loved it. It's so incredible, man. It just makes me so happy talking about such a new, amazing thing that really brought back this joy of movies for me. Anyway, Terrifier 2. Have you guys seen it? What do you think about it? I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments down in the comment section down below. Please check this out if you haven't seen it. Both movies are really good. Don't bother with All Hallows Eve. That's not that good. Neither is All Hallows Eve 2. Both of them kind of suck. They're anthology films. They're not worth your time. But this one is excellent. So is the first one. Anyway, have you seen it? What do you think? 5 out of 5 stars from me. Thank you for watching, guys. God bless you all, and goodbye.